Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. When raising roses, winter pruning is an important task that must be done, which is directly related to the growth and flowering period of roses in the next year. Every year when roses enter the winter dormancy period, winter pruning of roses should be put on the agenda. In this video, we will talk in depth about the skills and precautions related to winter pruning of roses. First of all, let's understand why roses need winter pruning. In theory, roses should be pruned after each round of flowering, and it is even more necessary for roses during winter dormancy, because roses have stopped growing in most areas at this time, and nutrients have returned to the roots and stems. Rose plants are waiting for spring to sprout new branches and bloom again. Winter pruning can reshape roses to achieve the purpose of readjusting the height of the plant and the direction of branching. Winter pruning can also rejuvenate roses. Through pruning, old, weak, sick and disabled branches are removed, leaving strong branches. Through the optimization and iteration of branches, it is ensured that roses can grow vigorously every spring. Winter pruning is also for more spectacular and beautiful flowering next year. Only thick branches and full buds can sprout good branches and bloom in spring. So winter pruning is even more for seeing more beautiful flowers next spring. Regarding winter pruning, we mentioned a concept, rose dormancy in winter. How to judge whether rose begins to dormant in winter? Theoretically, when the temperature is continuously below 5 degrees Celsius for a period of time in winter, rose begins to dormant. Combined with the temperature index, observe the state of the rose plant. There may be flower buds, but they are slow to open. The buds in the middle and lower parts of the stem are full and red but not sprouting. The leaves do not fall off, new leaves stop growing. Branches turn red, etc. These can be understood as roses entering dormancy. Because the climate in the northern hemisphere is very different, winter cannot come at the same time in all places, and of course winter pruning cannot start at the same time. It is possible that snow has already fallen in the north, while the south is still in summer, and the middle zone is hovering between winter and warming. If you have to find a winter pruning time that is common in both the north and the south, it is the coldest time of the year, generally from mid-January to early February. For the cold northern regions, the coldest time of the year is also when the cold wind is the strongest. The reason why roses die in winter in the cold northern regions is not because the absolute temperature is too low, but because of the cold wind. Generally, shrub roses can withstand temperatures as low as -15 degrees Celsius, and some small flowered roses can withstand temperatures as low as -20 degrees Celsius. Northwest winds are common in winter and early spring in the north. Under drought conditions, strong winds will quickly dry out the branches on the upper part of the plant and develop from top to bottom, and finally the entire plant will die. Therefore, in the cold northern regions, when caring for roses while protecting them from cold, more attention should be paid to wind protection. The winter pruning time in these areas can also be calculated according to the flowering period, and it is best to prune 60 days before flowering. It should be noted that pruning should never be delayed until the rose begins to grow, otherwise it is very easy to cause wound flow and nutritional loss. If pruning is done after germination, a large number of flower buds sprouting from inappropriate parts will be removed, sacrificing good flowers and delaying the flowering period. The damage caused will make it difficult for the rose plant to recover for a long time. Shrub roses are generally pruned more heavily in winter. If the rose is not completely dormant or the soil is particularly wet, it is easy for the rose to bleed after heavy pruning. Therefore, before heavy pruning, watering should be stopped in advance and pruning should be done when the soil is half dry. In addition, winter pruning of roses should be done on consecutive sunny days. And do not prune on rainy days to avoid infection at the cut, causing black rot of branches or withering of buds. It is better to prune in the morning or at noon during the day, and the wound will dry faster. Another thing is to choose sharp pruning shears to ensure that the cut is smooth and avoid tearing. It is best to use alcohol or potassium permanganate to disinfect the scissors to prevent bacterial infection. Finally, it is recommended to wear leather gloves with longer cuffs to avoid being scratched by the thorns of the rose when pruning. The first priority of pruning is to remove the weak and retain the strong, that is, to prune away diseased, dead, and weak branches, leaving strong and tenacious branches. Secondly, pruning also requires pruning overly dense branches and inward-growing branches, because branches that are too dense or grow toward the inside of the plant can easily cause poor ventilation, thus breeding pests and diseases. Therefore, it is recommended to prune cross branches and overly dense branches appropriately. Only within this large pruning framework can the specific pruning methods be subdivided. For shrub roses, the branches age quickly and the flowers bloom more, so pruning can be heavier. For hybrid tea roses, if you cut off 1/2 of the height of the branches, there will be more branches and more flowers next year, but the individual flowers may be slightly smaller. If you prune more heavily and leave only 1/3 of the height of the branches, the flowers will be thicker and larger next year, but the number of flowers will be relatively smaller. For the popular European roses and garden roses, pruning off 1/3 of the height is basically enough. For climbing roses, the number of branches determines the number of flowers in the next year, so try to retain as many branches as possible. You only need to remove weak, dead, and diseased branches. The other branches can be pulled, stretched horizontally, and wrapped around. They can be arranged according to the actual environment of the seedlings. For example, if the branches are close to the wall, pull them horizontally and fix them to the wall one by one. If there is no wall, you can make a flower stand and then wrap the branches around it one by one. This will break the apical dominance and result in more flowers next year. For grandiflora roses, the branches age quickly and there are many shoots. Therefore, pruning can be heavier, cutting off 1/2 of the overall height of the branches, so that there will be more branches next year. If your planting space is not large enough, or the crown of the plant is too biased, and you want to reshape the plant, or you want the flowers to bloom larger next year, you can also prune more heavily. For miniature roses, generally just a little pruning to shape them is enough. No heavy pruning is needed. For young rose seedlings, pruning is not recommended, as retaining branches is beneficial for rejuvenation next year. In fact, the main purpose of pruning is to maintain a reasonable plant shape, not to prune for the sake of pruning. After winter pruning of roses, winter fertilizer and sterilization and insecticide should be applied in time. I will make videos to explain these operations in detail later. Well, the above is the full content of this video. I hope it will be helpful and inspiring to flower lovers who are considering winter pruning roses. If you like my video, please subscribe, like, comment and forward it. See you next time.